afternoon, my name is Kirsty Dignam and I'm here on May the 4th to look at the energies this week and how to best navigate them. Star Wars Day, no less. There's a lot that I could share. Makes me very warm, actually. There's so much that could be shared. But the invitation this week is to filter the information coming through. This isn't about what is accurate and what isn't accurate. This isn't about conspiracy theories or viewpoints. This is about understanding how we complicate communication. In our desire to understand something, to comprehend something, we are actually confusing the situation. Which is what I was going to say planning on doing. Okay, so be mindful where that may be where we have learned in the past. I have always brought forward different perspectives in order to gain a little bit of everything and reframe my own. And that is how I've learned. I am the hanged man embodied, or was the hanged man embodied, and that feels really important this week. Emphasis on what was. The reason this video is not late at 2:30 in the afternoon is because I've, on bank holiday, gone to a car boot with my husband, and the last 2 days I've been gifted some historical pieces actually that I didn't know were historical until they were cared for. Items of value that were tossed to one side, that were chucked underneath a lot of designer clothes or objects of distraction. Thankfully, that didn't appeal to me. I'm very much an energy person, so I could feel like there was something underneath it all that caught my attention. And as a result, I found several pieces of history, several pieces that have some wonderful stories with them, from what looked like an old brass whistle that has turned out to be a military flute, right down to brass cups, tankards that have belonged to people that I've looked up on Google and found out some of their history, through to goat skin that was chucked to one side as an ornament that is now being soaked in my garden and coming back to life and will be used again. Now, the reason I share this, the emphasis this week is to, if we're going to go over stories, if we're going to look at different angles and different perspectives and get what we can out of a situation, it isn't about repeating it. It isn't about focusing on what was, but restoring it, bringing the beauty from the history and taking that forward. The other thing that I really felt into this morning, actually, I mean, it's Monday at the moment, May the 4th, and it does feel very much say the thing. Say the thing, communicate what is trying to be communicated without overcomplicating it. And it's going to be like that as we go into Gemini season anyway, after that glorious flower full moon in Scorpio. There was a lot of shifts. A lot of people associate Scorpio with emotions. And we could all do that this week. We could all think that things are just emotional or leave them in the realm of just our emotions. The invitation is to not dig deeper. This isn't about digging deeper, but taking forward whatever it is, whatever communication, whatever consciousness we have gained as a result of feeling. Everything has a beginning, middle, and an end, and our emotions are no different. There's a lot of feeling going on. There's a lot of communicating with our feeling, but there's less, shall we say, action in that. Now, communication itself is an action, and a very, very important one, which is why I say on the Monday in particular, say the thing. But listen to what it is you're saying. Listen to the conversation that is going on in your body, with whoever you are speaking with, connected to, without overcomplicating, and receive the joint venture, shall we say, that is occurring. Anything else on that? The cards that I'm going to use for this week's energy, keeping balance. So I've really enjoyed going to the car boots. I've really enjoyed bringing things back to life. I've really enjoyed learning about myself and my own process with this. I didn't realise I could soak animal skin, and I didn't realise that Sam, the goat skin, is going to be able to come back and be used for something. I went on my instinct. These side hustles, these side ventures, these side paths that we may feel are taking us off of where we think we should be are actually here to really help us discover so much more about ourselves. And now my mind has gone blank with it, where that was going to go. And there are going to be times when things just don't appear, I was going to say don't lead anywhere, but don't appear to lead anywhere. And there's desperation there to find meaning. It may not be clear until a long time down the line. It may not make itself relevant it will not make itself relevant until we are ready to hear it. So in regards to communication, being very mindful of the language that we are using, being very mindful of the things that we know but may not want to know or may not trust, the impact that is having on the sources that we are seeking outside of ourselves. This week the invitation is to come back to our own inner knowledge. And it isn't about wisdom, it isn't about application, because we cannot apply what we do not know. So coming back to the brass tactics this week, I just bought the most incredible medicine bag, not just metaphorically, but literally a leather medicine bag from the car boot, and I'm polishing up the leather and I'm treating the leather, bringing it back to life. My instinct was to start with the brass buckles, and I haven't. I've gone rushing in to look at what the leather bag would actually look like when it's finished, the end product, and as a result I now need to redo the leather once I've done the brass, because obviously it's left the materials that I've used all over the leather. Now the reason I'm sharing that is, first and foremost, go with your instinct and get to the brass of it, get to the bottom of it, to save yourself some work in the long run. Is there anything else on that? There are going to be gaps in our understanding. The temptation is to fill those gaps with the same. Nothing new will come in if we do that. So I know that I've just spoke about brass, and I know I've just spoke about medicine bags, and I'm not quite sure how that conversation started or where it's going to go, but I trust that. Be open to synchronicities as a form of communication. See everything in life as a form of communication. Any guidance that you're receiving, any emotions that you're feeling. If everything was seen as communication, there wouldn't be such a quick response to fill in the gaps. We would wait for answers, we would wait for flow. The call and response is lacking for many. So say the thing, but be prepared to listen to the answer as well. That's what I was going to share. The cards that I'm going to use this week are the Crystal Power Tarot by Jane Wallace. And if I remember rightly, is it going to say? I hope it says, because I absolutely adore her work. So let me just look at the illustrator. Oh, Nine of Swords, still in the book. Wow, the Nine of Swords is in the book. At the bottom of these cards, the reason I'm going to use them is they're very simple. And I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that. Looking at them, I see 9 swords stacked up. I see the crystal that could help with that. And I see the affirmation at the bottom that says, I trust the present moment, and my ego wants to find more. My ego wants to find more in this very, very obvious picture. And we're going to find that. We're going to find that in May, that what we see, what we know, is actually what we know. This isn't about, like I say, applying that wisdom, but trusting it, believing it before we act from it. Really, really perceiving what is going on in front of us. I'm trying to, yes, here we are. So illustrated by Roberta Orpwood. I hope I pronounced your name right. Her artistry is phenomenal. Absolutely beautiful. I don't know if you can see the front of this book. Absolutely stunning and very fluid. It has great power and great structure, being of the tarot, but it's also very fluid. May is going to have some cosmic curveballs. I've written all about it in the blog, and I've written about it on the newsletter. Every newsletter every month has a breakdown day by day of what is going on in the sky and how to best navigate it. It's going to potentially have some cosmic curveballs. There are going to be some plot twists. Now, that's not to say that we can't plan things. We can, but all plans change. All communication shifts. Once we actually hear something, our awareness of it has the opportunity to change. Whether or not it does in our perception is down to us. An example, I've had a few things over the last few days that have kind of pushed my nose out of joint a little bit. This lovely old saying. Yeah, what is it with those old sayings? You know, they come from somewhere, like these old wives' tales. But I've had my nose pushed out of joint a little bit over the last few days, and there's been the initial inconvenience. Then there's been the aggravated automatic response within me that is based on old stories that need to rise, to be seen, to be healed. And then as a result comes the the part of the conversation that I'm continuing to add to it, which hasn't always been comfortable to see. Of course not. But then that becomes my responsibility. If I want a different outcome for myself and the people involved, to see what is going on and shift my viewpoint. And that is the invitation this week. I'm aware that I'm moving my desk and it's just, I'm literally leaning on my desk and it's moving all the time. There's nothing I can do about that other than sit in a completely different room and film it elsewhere. So things are going to move as we move, and things may move when we don't move, that will encourage us then to shift and to move. Lots of movement in May, and that makes me smile actually. Lots of movement in May. We are coming up to the halfway point of this 10-year. I always want to say 10-year. We're coming to the halfway point of this 10-year. Okay, so we can expect the not opposite as such. It is the opposite. I didn't particularly want to say the word opposite. We can expect the balance of what has been shifting and turning for us to bring about the other side of things. So we get a complete picture. Now that doesn't have to make us wobble in who we are. It's just another angle. It's just movement that helps to shift our perspective and our viewpoint should we so wish. It always comes back to the present moment. I'm being shown, you know, when you spin round and round and round, May's very much like that. When you spin round and round and round, I can see the maypole now. Keep your eye focused on the present moment. This isn't even about where you want to go, because that is going to change. That is going to change for a lot of people. I've really enjoyed going to the car boot sales, and there's part of me that would like to do more restoration. I have a knack. I have a knack for finding things that people overlook based on the energy that I feel. And I'm finding some beautiful stories and some beautiful pieces that just need a bit of care and a bit of attention to come back to life. That may take me down a different route. Who knows? You know, with Sam, with the goat skin soaking, I'm building up a real intuitive unraveling of what I understand with drum making. And that could very well take me down a different path as well. So this isn't about focusing on where you want to go because it's going to shift and it's going to change by the end of the year. A lot of us are going to look back and think, what the fuck just happened? You know, there's going to be a lot of changes. There is completion first for many. The invitation is to just focus on where you are. Keep something, you know, I'm seeing when you feel that anxiety, to call out 5 things that you can see. Keep grounded in the body. Yes, there's a lot going on with Gemini and all that kind of stuff, Uranus in Gemini and everything else, but we are still in Taurus season. So ground in that communication, ground in what it is you're trying to get across, ground in what it is you're trying to find out, and ground in the answers as well. So these cards, yes, I have a bit of an issue with them because the artistry is beautiful. It is very complex in its purity. Nothing more is added, and yet there's a longing to seek further. But it's almost like these cards draw the line. What you see is what you get, and that is the option. It's not even an invitation. It's not even an outcome this week. The option this week is to decide. What you see is what you get. How you see it is what you get also. Okay, there's resistance there. So let's we have the Sun card. I'm optimistic and appreciate all I have. There's resistance there. With Uranus and Gemini, there was a big karmic energy that came to the surface. And there is resistance in acknowledging what we actually see. There is confusion, not resistance, confusion in acknowledging what we actually see. For too long, particularly in regards to manifestation, there has been a knee-jerk response of, if I put this out, this is what I'm going to get. A blame, yes, a blame response within the realms of manifestation. This happened because I did X, Y, and Z, or I haven't created this yet because of X, Y, and Z. And it's very, although there is some rooting in that, and there is some adjustments needed for many actually, in regards to what alignment actually is, the culture of blame when it comes to creativity, yeah, if this was with something else, if, you know, if we blamed ourselves for getting ill, or if we blamed ourselves for well, yeah, we do, yeah, so right, yeah, for everything we find a reason. Ensure that we're not just blaming ourselves in a different glorified way, because what that's doing is really taking away our light, in particular when it comes to creativity. It's really taking away some of the fun, the fame, I was going to say, the fame. Yeah, okay. On the other side of blame is fame, right? On the other side of blame is that recognition, that yearning to be seen, that can make many of us, myself included at times, create things or spend time creating things out of balance with where we would actually like to be. And that's going to come under the spotlight this week as well. Bringing it back to the present moment is something that we often avoid. Recognizing what we see for what it is something that we often avoid. Many have known the truth of situations and not wanted to be the person to speak that up. Not wanted to be the individual that pointed out the emperor's new clothes. And as a result, there has been hesitancy there. There's so much support. I can feel it all around my shoulders. There has been hesitancy there to call things for what they are. That is about to change. Many know that already. Many are aware of the karmic responsibility that that holds. That doesn't mean it doesn't need to happen. Okay, is there anything else to be added on that? We're not going to be able to figure it out until it's here. There's a lot of people searching for answers that have yet to be written. There's a lot of people searching for external advice and guidance, and I am aware of the irony because I'm reading the tarot cards, right? But the tarot cards are a reflection of where we're at. Yes, we can get insights into potential and future outcomes as a result, particularly if nothing changes. So it's great to be right from a ego perspective, and at times from a confirmation perspective, to show that we are connected, but it isn't always a positive thing to be right, particularly if it means that nothing has changed from when we first got the instinct. Being aware is an invitation to co-create. I really feel that in my chest. There are many people that see things, hear things, feel things, and say to me, Kirsty, why would I be given that when there was nothing I could do about it? Sometimes there isn't, sometimes it is to hold space. Other times it's an opportunity to co-create. That doesn't mean to do it alone or change it to just your narrative, but to co-create. Okay. Yeah, the last thing I want to speak about, so we're on the Sun card. I'm optimistic and appreciate all that I have. The last thing I want to speak about before we look at the energies this week is, again, that fine line between feeling thankful and toxic gratitude. It's great to be thankful for what we have. It's great to appreciate what we have and how far we've come. It's equally of value to remain open to what is yet to be formed. Don't get too caught up in thank you, thank you, thank you. Be open. Be open also. I'm looking at a picture above the desk in front of me, and look, I'm not gonna mince my words here. The energies are changing. They really are shifting, and what was once familiar is going to be no more, because it's moving and flowing and growing. We are moving and flowing and growing. And the more we try to grasp onto what once worked, the harder and more awkward it's going to be, because it isn't enough. Not anymore. It's not stretching us. There are going to be many that go out of their comfort zone and do things that they either said they wouldn't, oh gosh, or that they hadn't even thought about. Now I'm looking at the picture above me, and it's the most glorious painting of a young bird that is being born to crows, that is calling out to the bones of its ancestors to be fed. And obviously there's nothing on the bones of the ancestors, it's bone. The moon is full in the background. The scene is very, very dark. But the youth is very hungry for the wisdom that it must gain itself. We can outsource. We can seek whatever it is we need from others continually. But there will come a point where it isn't enough. It has to come from within. And when we come back to that space, that's when gratitude turns into a deeper appreciation. Gratitude is beautiful. It's, we're very thankful for something. Appreciation goes beyond what we like or what we think we should like to what we have become as a result. Appreciation into acceptance. Okay, energies this week and how to best navigate them. The beginning of the week, or at least the grounded, rooted potential of the week, is to get deep. It is to get deep. It is to really feel into what is going on. It is to notice the discomfort of not knowing, and to be aware where we may overstretch in our external seeking. And then it is to come home and get on with what it was we said we were going to do. Okay, energies this week and how to best navigate them. 9 of Wands, I'm strong for as long as I need to be strong. Okay, so the crystal here that is recommended is garnet. Now, garnet is very dark in colour. It's linked to the root chakra, and from a distance it looks black. From a distance it looks dark, but it's actually the deepest red. This is the bones of things this week. Okay, this is the very blood within our being that is coming to the surface here, that is saying, okay, I needed to be strong for as long as I needed to be strong. And not to overextend that. Not to question when you're done with that. Not to overcomplicate that. To be grounded in where you are. Okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There wanted to be 2 for Sunday, and there wanted to be 2 for the overall energy. I'm not surprised to see the Hanged Man this week. There is a real, with, I assume it's with Uranus and Gemini, there's a real Heyoka type energy. This isn't trickster energy. This is, go on, tell me more. Tell me more, and I will ask you to keep telling me more until you really, really don't know, and then we can learn what's going on. You know, keep guessing, keep guessing, keep guessing, keep guessing. There is no right or wrong this week. Keep guessing, keep exploring, keep seeing from different perspectives until you realize that actually all that matters is this present moment. As the Hangman says here, I can see this situation another way. We can eternally choose to see something from a different angle. But how can we bring that back to the moment that we find ourselves in? Well, on the Monday, I'm proud of what I achieve and I accept my rewards. The 6 of Wands. We have that garnet energy. Okay, so recognizing we can be as strong as we need to be for as long as we need to be, but also appreciating the rewards of our strength. So I've said it before, I'll say it again. My family, and the women in particular in my family, are very gung-ho. That's very kind. We're warriors, okay? And what happens when you're in that mentality of constantly fighting, just like the athlete that's in the mentality of constantly running, eventually we all have to cool down. We all have to receive the reward for the I want to say injustice, but receive the reward for the endurances that we've gone through. Otherwise, the endurances themselves become the reward. And that's that whole karma thing, right? That's that whole, so many are entrained to believe that things have to be hard, that we have to keep fighting, that there has to be a struggle, that we have to keep grasping, when actually underneath it all, there's a real invitation this week to keep the energy simple, streamlined, and to know what we know. Now, that may not be what we know in the future, but in this moment, may not be what we knew in the past or even what we want to know in the present, but in the moment, it is what it is. And that is the greatest reward, the certainty of where we find ourselves. A lot of strength is coming from fighting off the innate wisdom that wants to come through. Be proud of the journey so far, particularly on the Monday. Find the beauty in it, like the restoration. Bring the beauty out of the story that you have been part of. Really gleam your history. Be proud of that. If your whole life has been about learning to trust your instinct, then trust your instinct and allow yourself to have the reward of that. On the Tuesday, we have the 8 of Cups. I accept my situation without resistance. Can we? Can we do that on the 5-5 portal of all days? I'm so smiley. On the day of change, okay? On the 5 and the 5, that turning point, that adding together, that wheel of fortune energy. On the day of change. Now, every day is change, but actually, no, I'm being reminded not to downplay this one. The 5-5 portal is big. It's big energetically. It's big with the earth. It's, you know, there's a lot of indigenous representation on the 5th of May, which I'll put all the links to. There is also International Day of the Midwife. Pretty sure I've got it right this week. Almost sure it's International Day of the Midwife as well. This is a big turning point. The 5-5 portal is a big turning point, provided we can accept where we are without resistance. Normally, the 8 of Cups in the tarot is the card of grief and moving on from grief. Some cards will portray characters moving forward, others they're sat looking at the cups. Grief comes through us when we can accept that something is no more. That is the invitation on the Tuesday. Not changing, not doing, not fixing, not moving, but acceptance without resistance. I was going to say I don't need to add, but actually, obviously, I have to add here. I'm not advocating you accept something that is dangerous. I'm not advocating you accept without any resistance something that puts you in harm. I would like to say I don't have to add that, but I can accept the place we are in this world where people will put their whole way forward in the hands of another. Tuesday, we are being encouraged to accept where we are without resistance and step up and provide the alternative. I am not advocating you stay where you don't want to be, except that you don't want to be there. Take responsibility. Gain some empowerment. Because on the Wednesday, we have the Ace of Pentacles. We have that with the Malachite, which is the midwife's stone. I'm always rewarded for all that I do. I will show you this card. In the very centre of the pentagram is where the Malachite is actually placed. I've just noticed that the crystals are placed in the cards. I hadn't noticed that. I thought they were just one separate energy. Being aware where we may think that what we need is separate from us. Okay, but the Malachite here is right in the centre of the pentagram, of all of the elements, right in the centre, the midwife's stone, right in the very core of our being, the ability to witness and support and help deliver change and a new life, and to guide ourselves and others through transition. Knowing that we are always rewarded for what we do. That reward from the Monday comes from being proud of what we've achieved. That we can only actually receive by accepting where we are without resistance. Now, yeah, there may be other things that you want to bring in, but until we can be present with what has occurred, allow ourselves to be open to what we have been waiting to regain from our history. Until we do that, we will never be able to be rewarded for everything that we do, because we won't acknowledge what we have done. On the Thursday, we then have the King of Cups with the Angel Aura Quartz, which is on his cup. Again, taking the time to really look beyond the obvious. I can now see that the ripple, he's almost looking back at me. When we take the time to really look at what is in front of us, it can see us back. Be mindful, particularly on the Thursday, that may be what we've been avoiding. When we can see different situations, or see situations for the different aspects within it, we then get to see the different aspects of ourselves. These things that have been pushing my nose out of joint have showed me what a twat I can be as well. What an egotistical twat I can be as well. We're all human. We're all human. And that's okay. That's been needed. That's been needed as well. It's helped me to soften to the situations and to not be reacting from this place of wounds that is trying to cover up the fact that I'm being an egotistical twat. So on the Thursday, I am my own anchor. With the King of Cups, our emotions have the ability to ground us and repress us if we do not see them completely. Now that's an ongoing process. How we vision something is an ongoing process, because how we perceive ourselves shifts, and therefore how we perceive the world around us shifts, and therefore how we see ourselves shifts, just like my screen, right? When we move, the world moves. And in this card, right above his cup, you have the infinity. You have the infinity, what we choose to drink of, what we choose to share, what we choose to feel and express vulnerably or not with others, will help us to receive what it is we choose to see. It will help us receive what it is we are trying to communicate to the world. It will ground us into the version of ourselves we are becoming, like it or not, on the Thursday, particularly with our own masculinity, with our own actions. On the Friday, it's almost like we're being released. It's almost like we're being having our hearts open, and from here are able to see the situation in another way. I can see this situation another way. So this card doesn't say that we have, it says that we could. It doesn't say that we are open, it says that we could be more open. And that in itself there is a release. In this card, the selenite, the crystal, isn't on him. It isn't in anything that he's using. It's in the earth beneath him. It's in the humility. Now, humility means to be of the soil. Humility means to be human. Humility means to be physical. Humility means to be an egotistical twat. Humility means to mess up. Humility means to learn. I can see this another way. How can I learn from this? No one is suggesting that we change. Well, there is a suggestion there actually for many of us to just tweak our perceptions, but I'm not of the school of thought of telling people what to think or what to see or how to feel. Turning that around, learn from yourself, learn from the situation. No one's saying you have to change, but by learning from a situation, the situation itself can shift its own narrative. Then on the Saturday we have, trying to remember, oh yeah, on the Saturday we have the 10 of Cups. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember. And the 10 of Cups at the bottom says, I have all I wish for in my relationships. It feels very matter of fact on the Saturday. It feels as if there is agency on the Saturday. Remember that the 10 of Cups is a beautiful card, but the 10 is also an ending. And I feel a breath of fresh air with that. I feel a sigh of relief. I have all I wish for in my relationships. This has come to the point of completion in my relationships in this stage. Allowing things to be celebrated, to be acknowledged, to be honoured on the Saturday for the journey that they have been. Allow them to come to completion, that we have all we have wished for in that relationship at that stage. Doesn't necessarily mean that we're moving on from it. We're taking it to the next level. All of this week, it is an opportunity to take things to the next level. It's an opportunity to expand it. Oh, finally, it starts to come through. By the end of the week, the beginning of the week, it's going to be fragmented because we're fragmented. You know, we need to see that. We need to see the many different versions of ourselves. By the end of the week, it's starting to come back into flow, provided we're not tempted to go back to the things that we have discovered at the beginning of the week. They have given us an opportunity to expand, to realise our potential, to celebrate what we have discovered and all that we have learned, but to then take it to the next level. Never forget that it is about taking it to the next level. It's not that this moment isn't enough, but that this moment is the foundation for another moment and another moment and another moment. That is life. That is life. Life is not stagnant. Life moves. Creativity moves. On the Saturday, we then have the 10 of Pentacles. On the Sunday, sorry, I celebrate everything I achieve. So from the Saturday into the Sunday, there were two cards for the Sunday. One of them is Temperance, I find clarity through calm, and one of them is the Ten of Pentacles. I celebrate everything I achieve. So it feels as if as we go from the Saturday into the Sunday, we have a real physical, emotional balance that can bring forth abundance and relationship harmony, provided we can find clarity in the calm. This isn't chop wood, carry water. This is blue calcite here, and she stood upon the blue calcite. She stood upon the calm. Blue calcite is an incredible, incredible crystal for bringing peace. Beneath her, her very steps are peace. Her very connection is peace. Now I say her because it's a female on the card, but what I mean is the intuition within us is at peace. We celebrate all that we have. That brings us peace. We know that we have all that we wish for in a relationship, and if we're wishing for more in that relationship, looking at perhaps from a calm perspective what the next level would be with that, taking what we have gained, sifting through, filtering through, and moving that through to the next stage, ourselves included. I saw a wonderful quote the other day. I can't remember who it was by. I will try and find it and put it in the comments. But it was about walking on the earth with peace. When we walk on the earth rushed or in anxiety, and this isn't about berating people that feel anxious. It's just going to add more anxiety, right? Be aware of that this week. If you do find yourself thinking, oh, I don't know if this is what I want, or oh, that person is taking the piss, or da da da. Okay, pause, come back to a place of peace. Don't beat yourself up for it. We are human. We are of the soil, right? We are here to learn and to evolve. If you find yourself feeling anxious, gather some calm, connect to your body, connect to the earth, connect to the elements around you. Be in the center of all of that. This quote suggested that when we walk on the earth with anxiety, that the earth herself becomes anxious. If you do nothing this week, be mindful of your feet upon the ground. Feel into them. Be present with them. You know, set your intentions down through your feet. Pray with your feet, but at least feel them on the ground. Overall, we actually have the Star card. And I say we actually have because it may not feel as if things are going in the direction of what we want, because we're so confused with what that is. Things have shifted, things have changed. Our perspective of where that is going hasn't caught up. We have another woman here with 2 jugs of water based upon the Star card. I am inspired and positive about the future. Where do you feel less positive about things? Where do you feel less inspired about things? Does your energy need to be there? Now, I'm not saying bypass, I'm saying moderate. Moderate your energy. Create something from what you're feeling. If you see something that makes you feel crabby, okay, the Hanged Man, I can see the situation another way. What can I learn from this? Well, actually, this makes me feel crabby, so why do I keep going back to it? Okay, yes, very much so. There is, of course, doom scrolling. There is, of course, food that isn't good for us that we eat because it's full of sugar and salts. There is alcohol that, when not in moderation, can be very detrimental to our health. Look, I've done it all. Okay? Looking for things that make us feel like crap because it is our norm, is our responsibility to moderate. Whether that is news stories, relationships, patterns in our mind, beliefs that we have outgrown, circles that we're including ourselves in, that is our responsibility here. And that's a beautiful thing, because that is based upon the belief and the foundation that we are naturally creative. With that yellow Queen of Wands, that yellow calcite, we are naturally creative. This isn't about not seeing what's going on. But it isn't about seeing it and just feeling as if there's nothing we can do about it. Feeling in itself is a wonderful form of communication. Communicating is a wonderful form of communication. Creating, dancing, singing, sharing is a wonderful form of communication. So be mindful of the light language that is being expressed. There's this big, big call towards light language, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And something that started to shift for me a few years ago. And I'm very scientific. I want to know what I'm saying. So when I was experiencing light language, I wanted to know exactly what I was saying. Okay, so I'd receive something, say it, and then have to translate it. And the encouragement this week is to do the same, to recognize that light language is the essence of light that comes through in what we communicate. So that can be what we're drawing, that can be what we're saying, that can be what we're feeling, what we're expressing. But translate it, pause, take a second. What are we actually receiving? What are we actually choosing to verbalize? Be that through our mouth, our body, our attractions, is that infinite cycle here. What are we translating into time itself, into life itself? Because we are creative, and the truth of the matter is many of us, myself included, don't realize how creative we are, because we believe that creativity is something that you do with a pen in your hand, or paint, or clay, or creativity is so multifaceted. So multifaceted, just like communication. And with Uranus going into Gemini, I said it last week, the information that's coming in is not changing. Our understanding of information for the light language and creative ability that it is shifting. I'm seeing lots of people suddenly waking up, being able to speak different languages. Who knows? There's a deep remembrance here, but having fun with it, recognizing that we've been strong, but now allowing ourselves to celebrate what we have achieved. Accepting where we are without resistance doesn't mean that we are giving up. Okay, it doesn't mean that we're giving up. It means that we are rewarding ourselves for what has happened so far, for everything that we do and then anchoring ourselves in our emotions, even the uncomfortable ones, especially the uncomfortable ones, to acknowledge where we can, if we choose to, see something in a different way and learn from it. You may get to the point where you think there's nothing I need to learn from this now. I have all I could wish for in this relationship. That may give us the option to recognize things as they are and allow them to be that relationships, work, the world at large, or to say, actually, I'm now done with that, and I shall move on and celebrate everything that I have achieved as a result of that relationship, that job, that circumstance. What is of essence this week is that we find peace, that we walk with a sense of calm, that we recognize the power of that, the creative power of that, and acknowledge that it's that will bring us inspiration about the future. I wrote in I can't remember, it was the newsletter. Yeah, it was the newsletter. I wrote in the newsletter about the humdrum of life and how bored we are with what we perceive as the mundane, the calm, myself included. We are so entrained and used to this high low drama. You know, whether it's on TV or even childbirth on TV, you see people, just making sure that's not browning my windowsill, you see people give birth in such a incredibly dramatic way. Now, that's not to say that doesn't happen, but so do calm, peaceful births as well. But they're not exciting, they're not clickbait, they're not, they don't keep our attention span quick enough. Look at where the distractions are deliberately removing us from our normal natural state. Honor where we may have forgotten what that is. Recognize this is more than just feeling relaxed. This is more than just being in tune or aligned. This is our creative wisdom. It's different for us all, but this is our creative wisdom. Once we can do that, once we can shift our perspective of that, the information coming through, we will be able to see it differently. That does include AI as well. Interesting, I'm having such a very intuitive relationship with AI at the moment. I'm receiving a lot of information without connecting to my computer, without writing anything with AI, but just feeling into AI itself. And that's important, isn't it? We don't have to actually physically connect to something in order to understand it, but really feeling quite an intuitive relationship with artificial intelligence. And I'm seeing it so many places replacing what stands out for me as uniqueness of individuals, to the point where a lot of the posts that I'm seeing, a lot of the ways, I love the word, right? I love language, and a lot of the ways things are being written are sounding very, very similar. And they have an energy through them that is not the person that is trying to share the information. So this week, be aware of that. This week, keep coming back to who you are, your uniqueness, your creative wisdom, your naturally creative flow. Have calm and peace with that, and be inspired with that and yourself in the future, because what we all bring individually to the table is so important. Is there anything else I need to add? Well, we're 50 minutes in, so okay. 50 minutes in. 1, 2, right. 1, 2, 3. Let's have a look here. Let's move things around a little bit. That feels quite important. Move. The energies are intense. Move the body. Move the body around. We have 3 major arcanas. A lot of the creative energy coming in is going to come through situations that appear outside of us. Of course, everything is a reflection. They will appear as if they are outside of us, but they will bring forth change. They will bring forth options. And they are the Hanged Man, Temperance, and the Star, provided we can see things from a different way, or at least recognise that the choice is there to see things from a different way. We will actually find quite a bit of clarity in being calm and present with what is going on. We may not like it, okay, but we can be, and we may like it as well. Let's just remember, we could actually like it. Even the bits that we don't like, they could be comfortable, right? Be aware of that. Something may really piss us off, but hey, it's what we know. And that can bring a sense of security. Just like things can be dramatic and we may want them to be calm, but we're so used to them being dramatic that embracing something calm would be almost traumatic to the body. So be aware of that this week, provided we realise that we do have a choice in how we see things, that we can find clarity when we're calm and not get confused with there being boredom. We could end up with a lot of inspiration about the future, and it will bring forth a way of amalgamating things that we enjoy, things that we do for a living, the version of ourselves that we've always been. There's many, many hats to be worn. They will all link up, not yet though. They won't link up yet. They won't link up until the end of the year, where we look back and go, oh God, yeah, I can see now. I can see actually why I was going to cut boots, or I can see why I was da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay. We then have 2 Pentacle cards, the Ace of Pentacles and the Ten of Pentacles. Provided we can celebrate everything that we have achieved, we will always be rewarded for what we do. Provided we believe we will always be rewarded for what we do, we can celebrate everything we achieve. Now, that doesn't mean to take a picture of feeding a homeless person to get likes. That's not the reward that the soul wants right now. Hey, nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with getting likes and getting attention and everything else. We all enjoy that. We all appreciate that. But this is... excitement alone isn't going to be enough in relationships. The thumbs up isn't going to be enough in interactions. People want a deeper connection. Celebrate all that you've achieved. Know that the celebration is the reward. It helps to ground us. That helps us to take an idea and wonder where it's going to go. That helps us to receive an insight and move with it, to create with it. And that's the other three cards that we have, which is the Cup cards, the Ten of Cups, the Eight of Cups, and the King of Cups. Can we anchor down where we are in our situation and accept it without resistance? Now, that doesn't mean want it. That doesn't mean be okay with it. It means be honest with our situation without resisting it, without putting rose tinted glasses on it, without finding a reason for it. Yeah, can we be honest with our emotions, with where we're at? Can we recognize that we do have everything that we want in our relationships? If we want more, can we be honest enough to see where we need to anchor in that next level now? And if we don't want to anchor in that next level, can we just be honest with that? Because the other three cards, the other creative energy is the wand energy. So we have the fates, the cups and the wands all balanced, all in creative sync. Okay, so what we feel we're going to create with, and the universe is going to help us with that. We have the Nine of Wands, the Six of Wands and the Queen of Wands. Can we nurture the strength that it has taken to get to the point where we are proud of what we've achieved, simply by accepting the reward of being naturally in flow and creative with whatever is occurring around us? Okay, we have a few minutes. It's a lot. It's a lot this week, and it's a lot too. There were no sword cards in the reading. There's enough communication going on. There's a lot of mental energy. Come back to the body. Come back to what brings you life, ambition, passion, drive, sustenance on a soul level. Let that ground you. Let that be your insight, your intuitive guidance. Trust that. One card overall this week. Ten of Pentacles again. I celebrate everything I achieve. And to the other side, the Seven of Pentacles. I trust my ideas and my direction. A lot of the times we struggle to celebrate where we are and what we have. It's because it would mean that we have to trust how we got there. We have to take responsibility for how we got there. And there is resistance with that. Underneath that we have the Ace of Wands. I'm inspired to follow my passion with that Garnet energy. This week, whatever ideas you receive, celebrate them by simply acting on them, going with them, be guided by them, and recognize that you are part of a beautiful, creative communication. Take care. I'll see you next week.